time to spill the secrets.
This is Universal Secrets with Tiffany Mack and Kevin Hale.
It is Universal Secrets here on this. I think I've already messed it up, Tiffany. I did.
Nah. No, you
It's
didn't.
Monday night. You know what that means.
It's Universal Secrets with Tiffany Mack and Kevin Hale. You did screw it up, but that's okay. We're used to that.
I'm used to the school.
We have a lot of bloopers, don't we, Kevin?
There's got to be a blooper reel made.
Well, you see this guy in the background, right? The little guy over my shoulder? Yeah? That's you. And then there's me. See?
So I'm the hot one, and you're the girl. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. Yeah.
How are you, T-Mac?
I'm great.
T-Sip?
It's been a long day, yeah. T-Sip, yeah. It doesn't flow off the tongue as easily as T-Mac because it was just T-Mac for so long, so.
Yeah, this is your T-Mac, Tiffany Mack it's your show personality, it's your show thing. And then, when you shut the show down, you're in your, home alone, you're back to T-Sip.
Sometimes that's hard to do. Separate the show from the reality of our daily lives. We all have all these dramas going on, and I'm enduring one of those today. It comes down to what we've done in the past. We've done a lot of paranormal stuff. Some of it's been sort of dark, and some of it is very mysterious, and there is a lot of stigma behind what we do and who we talk with. And I don't think people understand that, just because we describe and we talk about these subjects and we have a fascination with them, it doesn't mean they rule our life, right? We still live normal lives. We're just normal people who have a passion for the mysterious, and so yes. Yeah, we all have to separate our daily life from our fantastic hobby and passions of finding the answers to the universe.
Brent and I have this worked out. I have visitations rights with you for 90 minutes a week or whatever, and it's all understood.
Yeah.
We are.
Who pays alimony on that? Do you pay alimony for that time?
Yeah, it's something we've brokered. Don't.
I don't need to know about it.
It's a guy thing.
Okay.
So we're Universal Secrets. It's show number 3 since the reboot 4.0 reboot.
Yeah, but it's original. It's number 64.
64 last week. Yeah, great show last week. Tonight, Tiffany, as we're streaming on Facebook, X, YouTube, our Universal Secrets channels, pages, we kind of go back into our past. And this one is very cool because our guest tonight, Todd Rayburn, was a guest when you and I first started doing podcasts in 2016. And we
7 years ago.
Going on 8.
Oh,
going on 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Asian math, just like that.
Yeah, I know. You got it. I'm still struggling.
That's okay. I got you.
I only got through calculus in college, and it was a struggle.
We had Todd on back in the day when we were on Blog Talk Radio, and I went and listened to the show, and it was entertaining. Todd's going to be great. The stuff we're going to talk about tonight, one of the things is music. Besides my passion for music, it's end all be all. And great show, content quality, audio quality, but that was
the beginning of podcasting for everybody, though.
It was.
It was. I mean, we've gone through multiple stages and platforms throughout the years, and and grown each time. So I don't have a problem going back and listening to
No,
something that
not at
was
all.
a little bit iffy, because a lot of times we were doing it only by phone, and
That was it. Yeah.
that was it. That's all we had. So it didn't really matter because there was no video. You
No
did a lot
red
of
lips.
editing too.
No red lips. Yeah, no video.
Oh, those were like hair bun and
You got away with
pajamas.
you got away with it.
Yeah.
We were doing our shows, and then after the show, we did a show. It was a KT Unearthly show,
Hmm.
and it was a Friday night.
Always
Started
Friday
at
nights.
10 o'clock
Oh, yeah.
live, and we talked for hours. And then once the show ended, we would still talk for hours, and it was just fun stuff.
Well, there were times where it was a 3-hour show.
Oh yeah, shows were long, and then we did it and talk another hour,
I know.
being silly and crazy. But
Yeah.
let's give a shout out to people in the chat: Maria, Greg, hey Greg, hey Maria, Charles, we got Natalie, our usual cast of characters.
Hmm.
Let's get the party started, Tiffany. Who we got?
So, one of the things that I wanted to mention tonight is that, Kevin, you already sort of brought up the fact that you have this passion for music as well. So one of the key things that we've discussed is bringing in some of our friends who are in the music industry who really have had an impact on our lives. And we have Todd, who's a fantastic musician. You have Micah Hanks, fantastic musician. There's just so many people in our life that music is sort of number one and paranormal is number two. And so with the future of our show, we're really thinking that we're going to get a few more music people involved in this. And I do think that a lot of the musicians have such an artistic nature, and that they're more in tune with the spirit realm, because a lot of them do get this inspiration through dreams and through meditations, and so I think that bringing that into our show is going to benefit not only Kevin but me as well. I grew up singing, and so music has always been an outlet for me. Now it's only in my bathroom and in the car with my kids. I blow them out all the time, but
I'll start a karaoke with Tiffany's podcast in a
dude,
heartbeat.
I would love that. I mean, I'm so sick of all of these auto-tuned voices. I would love to get back to, the pure voice and skill that it takes. So listening to those people, and hopefully we can bring in a few of those people, and one of them is Todd Rayburn. So we met Todd. Yes, hey, Todd. So I met Todd back in, I believe, 2016, 2017, something like that, at one of the conferences that we went to.
Gotcha.
I believe that it was CryptidCon. Does that sound familiar? Was it in
Eureka
Kentucky,
Springs?
Todd? Oh,
It was in Eureka Springs.
So that was April of 2016 at the Ozark UFO conference and that's when we were with KGRA, with Race Hobbs and all those good guys. Ooh, Kevin, your candle game.
Do you remember this? Do you know who got this for me?
That was Queen Colleen.
Yeah.
Yes, bring that in. But yeah, so that was actually my first conference, and I was able to meet Todd there, and he had his book, which
here it is right here.
I'm a bookie. I want to be able to smell the pages while I turn them, okay? I like feeling the weight of them. And this book is fantastic. And I had mentioned that we would talk about it a little bit, and you're like, let's just do a little bit more paranormal, because, as a Catholic, I really have this strong belief in the paranormal, because I believe that essentially we are told that there is a supreme creator. And so whatever your beliefs may be, if you have a belief in the paranormal, it has to be something similar to what 90% of the earth is been indoctrinated to. So you went through and you looked at a lot of the earliest writings, and the things that you mention in here struck so many chords with me. So let's give a little basic rundown of Forbidden Union, the legacy of battle before Babel, not battle.
Yeah.
Before we go into any more paranormal, let's talk about what got you into the idea of writing a book like this.
I have a lifetime interest in the UFO phenomenon. When I was in the third grade, my mom took me to the library, got me a library card. She said, "Go in there and get 3 books." I came out with 3 UFO books. What are you, 10 years old in the third grade? 9 years old?
Yeah.
I don't know. But,
Yeah.
So it
So
was
Do you
an
remember
interest.
which books?
Yeah, your passion goes back to
Childhood.
Yeah.
Started.
Do you remember the 3 books?
No. I know I never took them back.
So
books
you're
never made
still
it.
running. You're still running a balance.
Still running a Seinfeld library guy tab.
See,
Library cop.
You've just admitted
Yeah.
stealing 3 books. That's we're good.
Yeah, those books never made it.
Never. Do you still
But yeah, I
have
have.
them? Do you still have them?
Oh shoot! Heck no. Those books disappeared many, many years ago.
So tell us.
So,
So
yeah.
from that point, what actually was the draw for you, though?
That I don't know. Other than, just have always been interested. When I grew up, we only had 3 or 4 channels. I'm a lot older than you guys, and there was a show hosted by Leonard Nimoy called In Search Of.
In search of. Yes.
They rehashed it on one of these channels a couple of years ago, but
Giorgio did.
yeah,
He did.
yeah. So that show covered UFOs and Sasquatch and the Bermuda Triangle and the like, and I was just riveted by it, just as a 9 or 10-year-old, So it's been a lifelong interest. And so the issue with me, I've also most of my life been a Christian. So not only was there an interest with the phenomenon and my practice of Christianity, but then I had the problem of how to reconcile, things that I'm seeing and I'm wondering about over here with my Christian faith over there. And this is Forbidden Union is sort of a culmination of all that thought over the years, of every person on the planet has a worldview. It doesn't matter if you're Catholic, you're Christian, if you're an atheist, it does not matter. You have a worldview. And so, you can't help it. You're going to filter stuff through your worldview, right? So typically a Christian will slap the demonic label on the UFO phenomenon, and that's the end of it. But it is certainly not only deeper than that, but it's a precedent. The UFO phenomenon is a precedent for bigger supernatural paranormal things. And it's sort of the culmination of all of it, in my opinion. Because in paranormal circles, you, for lack of a better term right now, you conjure, if you want to connect with the spirit world, then you have a conjuring technique to connect to, that entity or that realm, whatever. So as a Christian, a lot of times, vocabulary is really the difference between things. And as a Christian, I believe, because I have a Christian worldview, that I connect to the spirit realm through the Spirit of God, right? So anyway, Forbidden Union was sort of the my lifelong thinking of how to put all this stuff together and make sense of it. And that's a driving thing with my personality, as I want to make sense of the world, and put things together.
Let me know
I
when you
can't help
figure that
myself.
out. Let me know when
Yeah,
you
sure.
figure out how to make sense of this
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
So,
and one of the things that I've always I agree with you when you say that you're trying to figure it out. So one of the things that always sort of haunted me and piqued my interest is, you're told that you have a direct connection with the Almighty. You have a
right.
direct connection. You have a soul, and that soul is the actual, the body is just a vessel. The soul is what is connected to the universe, to
Yeah.
it's your line, your connection to
Sure.
the
Out
omnipotence
of the
of the
boundaries of the
universe.
body. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we are confined to this physical form for only so long, but that doesn't really define us. We are more than that. And so,
Sure.
you there are questions when it comes to that communication. A lot of people are scared of communicating with entities, whether it be an it's nice to say an archangel. You can connect with Michael, or pray to
Yeah.
Saint Christopher, or whatever the case may be. You can pray to the Holy Mary and ask for guidance, and but why are those the only ones that you're allowed to talk to? So there's a diverse group of potentials out there,
Yeah.
but we are geared and we are directed to only speak to one. So you sort of delve into that. So can you describe that type of your thought process behind rationalizing that?
And that,
Can I do an audible?
yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Oh, sure.
I'm hearing this hissing, like a background noise. I'm gonna
See if you can do something about it.
shit I should have done before the show, but
That's okay.
I'm gonna mute. See, of course
Wow.
it's you, Tiffany. Do you have how is your game? Would you have the AC blowing in the background? That's what I think that's what I'm kind
It
of.
may be the computer. You want to buy me a new computer?
Did you just buy one like that alien one?
Yes. Okay, maybe it's this. Let's see.
Do you have a fan on?
No, it's the computer.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
We still.
You're just going to have to suffer through
Good.
here, buddy.
All right. For people in the chat listening, I tried.
You tried.
I tried.
Well, I would relate.
I can mute myself while I'm not talking. Would that help?
I can mute you.
Kevin? Okay, I can. Yeah, we can try that. We can try that way.
Good.
Can I hear you?
Take over,
I hear
Tom.
you. Chat, Kevin.
Yeah.
So goes back to worldviews again, but I would compare what Tiffany's saying to, like, it's the reason you don't have 20 presidents. You have one president, and then there's a system of authority, that steps down from the president, and that's a necessity, in the realm of authority. There has to be someone in the supreme position, to make the final decision, and I would compare the spiritual realm in the same way. There has to be an authority that's at the top, okay, and then the authorities below. That's just the nature. It's the best way for things to be administrated, to have a superior guy. Now, back to my worldview as a Christian, right? If you're a Christian and you read scripture, you see a precedent with that. In the Old Testament, Yahweh tells, the Israelites, hey, don't talk to these guys. So, it's, by the way, it's an acknowledgement of a group of spiritual authorities below Yahweh. He wouldn't say don't talk to these guys if they didn't exist, right? So you get in Deuteronomy in several places Yahweh instructing the Israelites, if you talk to these guys, they're gonna take you off the trajectory that I have for you. So it's kind of the same for me. It's the same thing with my Christian worldview. My Christian worldview is, that what there's an authority, a supreme God, and dealing with the guys below him is a problem. So as a Christian, I am suspicious of the guys below the supreme God. And that, we're prisoners of our worldview, and that's my thing, So
No, that's fair. Go ahead, too.
now that doesn't mean that there's not, benevolent
Benevolent.
benevolent spiritual
Are you allowed to
powers.
say that B word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Below Yahweh. So,
Right. So this is a question from Yuffie. It says, should one be interested in which ones actually talk back? And I think that might have been part of the problem that the original people were really having the major problems with.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts on that question?
Let's bump it up and make it interesting, to bump it up to the UFO phenomenon. So going back to the ancient Near East, the Sumerians, the Babylonians, they had, and ancient Judaism as well, they had a group of divine beings that were high ranking. They were not angels. They were higher than that. And they had a reptilian appearance. Okay. So these guys were considered problematic. So look at the modern UFO phenomenon, and what do you have? Okay. When you with abduction stories, you have problematic encounters with the guys who are reptilian. So I believe that the reptilian world is real, but back to my Christian worldview, I don't think dealing with those guys is very good. And if you go look at the UFO abduction literature, and all those people who have encountered those guys would agree with me, it was not a good experience. So yeah, that answers the question by example.
Yeah. One of the problems, do you feel that since they would potentially look so different from us, that may cause some kind of fear in humanity to begin with?
I'm sure. The ancient Israelites in the Old Testament, there was this saying called the enemy in the north, and you go back and read different places in the Old Testament, and the enemy they always relate the enemy as the guys to the north. Well, the enemy land to the north of Israel was Bashan, and Bashan means serpent. So we're back to these reptilian guys. There was a concept in ancient Israel that you guys know the Nephilim story, right? The Nephilim, the hybrids, that the land to the north, Bashan, was the home of the Nephilim, who in many cases appeared reptilian. So there's an example of that. So that answer your question?
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not. This is not a political trying to take a shot at anyone politically, but wasn't, in both of you, question for both of you. When the whole UFO thing, alien thing started, it's always been a topic of discussion when it comes to the government. And there was always this narrative that that conservatives, the right, didn't want to pursue the alien angle because of the demon, it was evil.
Right. The influence of conservative Christianity. Yeah.
Okay.
What's crazy is how obvious the reptilian agenda has become lately. It's really shocking to me. I don't know if they're good or bad. I don't know, what their agenda is, but I think that we're leaning a lot towards a more, I want to say demonic agenda through Hollywood and the music industry, which has really sort of shocked me over the past few years because of the depth and how in your face it has become. I think a lot of these artists are fantastic, and I think a lot of the videos are really amazing, but it's still dark, and it's getting darker.
You're seeing the symbolism, yeah.
It's getting a lot darker, and it's almost like this cult that has begun to form, and I'm sort of scared of where it's going to go. We talk about, let's look at the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve with the apple and the serpent. So I would assume that the serpent was meant to be this more reptilian mind, this being of a lower intention, but it's almost come full circle. Like the appeal that they're creating is to be more geared towards this negative aspect. And I don't know if that's because we as humans have a dark side and a light side. We're always a dichotomy between us. We have the yin and the yang, the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the earth and the sky.
Sure.
That's part of humanity too. We're male and female and everything in between. Do you feel like that is yes? Do you feel like that's where is that coming from? Is it just something that's always been in the back of our heads?
Look at, like maybe your listeners would find this interesting, but go look at, just maybe Google musicians influenced by Aleister Crowley. But what was Aleister Crowley? Aleister Crowley is the greatest medium that the earth has ever known. Okay. So go look at this. Go look. Stones, Beatles, David Bowie, Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's even in hip hop. Hip hop guys appreciate Aleister Crowley. So unfortunately, and they admired him because but because of his sexual magic arts, that sexuality conjured the demonic realm or some entity, whatever. And that, it was a doorway to supernatural. I don't know. Like musicians want to push that anyway, right? They want more than instruments and music. They want a higher spiritual experience. And Crowley not only did that, but he left the grimoire. He left a written record of how to conjure the spirit realm, and musicians of every sort admired that in Crowley, and the music tree has come from that, and so I would say that what you're seeing now is sort of the maturation of a music tree. Now that's my opinion on it. I'm sure some will disagree. So naturally, that family tree is pushing to the darker side, like you said. like the Garden of Eden analogy. They're pushing to the darker side of the story. After 2,000 years of the other side of the story, because musicians are hungry for the spiritual experience, and conservative Christianity is, lock them down. Let's push and see the other side. So
What's
you're on
funny
to
is,
something there.
when I was thinking about Led Zeppelin and Highway to Heaven, what was it called? Stairway to
AC/DC.
Heaven. Oh,
Stairway to Heaven.
Yeah. Whatever it was.
The hybrid song.
Whatever
It's all
it
the
was.
same.
But
Highway, Stairway.
I've heard that song was actually given to him in a dream state.
Yeah.
And I feel that there's a lot of musicians who have received information through whether it was dreams or meditation.
Oh yes.
So do you feel that there's some kind of connection that it's drawing this out of these creative people? Is it meant to share with the world to make us see a brighter path or a different way, or to open our horizons a little bit more?
I would say the answer is yes. But it's in the hands of the musician to discern and that, in a productive direction.
Tiffany, I went and Googled songs that are UFOs, aliens related, and there
Did you find a lot?
There's a ton of them.
Way more than one. I mean,
yeah.
Can you give me a list?
Well, let me hear.
About "Come Sail Away" by Styx.
Come sail
Check
away.
See, there you go,
Okay.
Tiff. We're going to
Go on, let's hear
karaoke.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
We thought that they were angels, but to our surprise, we climbed aboard their starships and headed for the skies.
Yeah, check this
Love
out.
that.
This is like the top 30, just random. I'm seeing,
You're going to have to read them
Right.
to me because
Right.
I can't see that right now because I'm blind.
like Fleetwood Mac has got music. I didn't realize the Purple People Eater was a song.
Well, doesn't that
one-
make sense?
It doesn't. Yes, it does. Once I listened to it and started singing it out loud.
I always thought that when I was a child.
Did you?
I always assumed that's what it was.
And of course, you got Rob Zombie's. Well, everybody's fucking in a UFO. Sorry.
That's one of my favorite songs.
Is it? Is that a form of? Is that the alien version of the Mile High Club?
It must be.
Okay, just well, everything.
Well, Rob
Four-
Zombie's he has
yes.
a lot of darkness to his, but that has a lot of humor behind it too. If you've ever seen the video, it's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, but in fairness, Todd, when musicians write songs, they're typically based on feelings or experiences.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, just think about music and dance, at its basic form. Think about the Native American rain dance, dancing around the fire, banging on the drums, chanting. Music. How about the worship of like Inanna in the ancient Near East? They were cross-dressing and banging drums. Music and dance at their basic, beginnings they are an act of conjuring the spirit world. That's what they are.
Tiffany,
So go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
you had texted me about jumping on before the show, and you said you'll be on in 55 minutes, and I jokingly said you can't drive 55. Look, here we go. It said this is a Sammy Hagar song, and they reference his Sammy can't fly 55.
Oh, that's funny.
How kind of weird is that? I mean, I said that.
So one of the things
Come-
that popped up here is Charles Smar said downloads, and I have to agree that it does resemble what a lot of experiencers call downloads, and it goes back to John Burroughs and oh God, what is his name?
It's
His buddy
it's
Jim
Peniston. Yeah.
Yeah,
Rendlesham Forest.
Rendlesham, yeah, the Rendlesham UFO incident in the early 80s. He actually stated that he came close enough to the craft and was given this binary code. And at the time, they didn't know what the binary code was. He just said it was zeros and ones and wrote it down in a notebook. And later, they were actually able to figure out what the message was. And it was very shocking because it was talking about how Earth was a sort of a test area, and
exploration.
It was so and it was a go for humanity, which I find interesting. So I wonder if music, along with this state that we get into when we listen to it, when we feel it, like you were saying, the drums and everything, the beat and the dancing, your whole body is involved in this what could be an altered state. Even if there's no alcohol or drug use involved, you still get into this sort of very primal state. And
yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And an activity of calling on the spirit. A lot of times things just differ by vocabulary. I played in church for many, many years. And the reality was, in a church service, and we were doing the same thing. Service, we would have the worship praise for what reason? The reason was hopefully stir up the presence of God in the building, and from that, exercise, our gifts and that type of thing. So even in Christianity, praise and worship is, for lack of a better term, conjuring God, asking God to come in the building. So in Christianity, all music and the beginning to doing the same thing on the spirit world.
Okay, Todd, you just totally glitched out for about a minute there, unfortunately.
All right. All you saw was waving hands.
Yes, pretty much.
Kind of like a reptilian trying to talk to us, but
Yeah, like a reptilian with those little arms. I was saying that that my experience in music is from a Christian standpoint. Now, I played music for many years in church in praise and worship, and we were doing the same thing as the ancients, worshiping the goddess or the Native American rain dance. We were having music at the beginning of the service in hopes that a greater presence, of the Spirit of God would come in the building, So it's closely the same. The only difference is in Christian theology, the Spirit of God is already within the believer, and outside of that, spirit, a particular spirit, you're conjuring the Spirit to come to you. In Christian theology, the Spirit of God is already there, but it's still the same thing. Praise and worship is say, "Hey, God, come in here." So, music and dance and those things have always been and always will be, as you said, an altered state. It's just, perhaps it's in the design, perhaps it's in our DNA, but music and dance sort of makes us into an antenna.
I
the
think
spirit
that
realm.
might be part of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the Native Americans always said that, and I shouldn't just limit it to the Native Americans because the Vril Society did this as well. You know, they believed that hair was like antennas, and that they grew it and had this spirituality and this connection. And one of the examples that I always liked was talking about how the Native Americans were chosen. This one tribe was chosen for their translating skills during World War II, I believe,
The Navajo,
and
yeah.
how the
Yeah, the
Navajos.
Navajo.
So they were getting the chatter and
Yeah.
having these conversations that nobody could understand. But before that, what they did was they were testing how these Native Americans could sense danger before they even saw it. They were aware of this. But then when they got into the military, they cut their hair off. And from that point, their connection, their
Wow.
insight, their intuition was somewhat dimmed and somewhat
Wow.
even terminated. So there's got to be some kind of connection between that,
Yeah.
whether that has to be a faith because of what they believed and believed that when their hair was gone, that caused this lack of communication and this lack of connection with the Almighty or whoever.
Yeah.
So that was always
I can
interesting to me.
add a parallel story to that. I don't know if you guys have heard of the famous theologian Michael Heiser, but he passed away actually last year. But Mike Heiser made the argument that in the New Testament, when the women were told to cover their head in the church, that was because of when we read the New Testament, our perspective is from our world now. But the supernatural worldview they held then, what Paul was saying was the covering their head was sort of a blocking of the spiritual realm with messing with the woman. So that goes right along with that Navajo story.
It's
Yeah.
sort of like putting the tinfoil hat on so nobody can hear
Yeah.
your thoughts,
Exactly.
blocking
Exactly.
the communication.
Yeah. Yep.
The
Covering
antenna
their
has
head
been
was
damaged.
saying to the spirit world, back off, no thanks, that type of thing. So
Interesting. Here
yep.
is something that was brought up. Another one. Yuffie says, when the frequency of light matches the resonance of a molecule's bindings, strange things can happen.
Jesus, I always feel a little smarter after I do a show just because he's yeah,
He, I still don't know.
You'll have to comment on that one.
Oh, there's another one that says
I
that
didn't get
it's
it.
common in the Jewish tradition for men also to cover their heads.
Yeah.
When I lived in Greece, in Greek Orthodox churches, I had to cover head to toe. I was not allowed in. And if you are unclean at the moment or that during that week, you're not allowed to be in sacred halls either. So there's a lot of
why I shower every day, twice a day. So.
Not quite what I meant.
Oh.
Yeah.
but yeah, so there's a lot of rules that go along with these religious practices.
Sure. Their worldview, the worldview they were living in was a wider supernatural view than we have today.
Wouldn't you like to have lived about 6,000 years ago just to see what was going on before the Bible, before everything? I would love to have seen what was really going on. Who were the game players then?
Yeah, I know. So, with their worldview, a hat may have been an effective, device for repelling the supernatural guys. So, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is what when you communicated with me about coming on, my idea was to talk about, which we don't have to, what was how the paranormal rules the world. And my angle was that going to be that everything from government to science, to religion, to how we communicate, all those things started with paranormal pursuits or paranormal encounters. So, we live in this atheistic, materialistic society that pushes people like us with a supernatural or paranormal worldview to the margins of society, but they're asleep at the wheel because the world has been completely set and influenced by the paranormal. Can I go on a 5-minute rant?
Absolutely.
Just think about, all right, the first one is obvious. All right, so Paul, the Apostle Paul, on the road to Damascus, he has an encounter with Christ. We all know that, right? So that's the beginning of the church. So how many Orthodox, Roman Catholic, or Protestant people have there been on the planet? Billions. All right, and that starts with the one encounter of Paul with Christ. Yet 2,000 years of Western civilization because of that encounter of Paul with Christ. Islam, all right, Muhammad he's standing up on Mount Hira. What happens? He has a supernatural encounter with something. It results in 2 billion Muslims. So here you have, with single paranormal encounters, that accounts for 6 billion people.
Isn't that insane?
Okay, and the civilizations they live in. Islam dominates where it is. Their government and everything, and we have a 2,000-year history of Western civilization dominated by Christianity. How about Constantine? Constantine at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. You know the story. He has a vision. Suddenly, the greatest empire on the earth, he becomes Christian. One paranormal encounter. You see in a pattern here, Joseph Smith. Same thing. A single paranormal encounter, millions of Latter-day Saints. Juan Diego, the Cult of Mary, down in South America, Central America. One paranormal encounter. L. Ron Hubbard. L. Ron Hubbard was conjuring spirits through Crowley's techniques. You guys know that story. They went out to L. Ron Hubbard went out to the desert with Jack Parsons to try to bring in the Antichrist through Crowley's conjuring techniques. L. Ron Hubbard is messing around with spirits. What happens? Scientology. Billions more. So we've got billions of people right there affected by 5 or 6 single paranormal encounters. Madame Blavatsky, you guys know Madame. You still there?
We're here.
Did I lose you?
Nope, we're here.
Madame Blavatsky. She had an encounter with some sort of being. So from that, it becomes theosophy. Theosophy influences Nazism. A lot of people don't know this. George Adamski, he's the sort of the father of the alien abduction phenomenon. George Adamski was a follower of theosophy. Millions of people are into the alien abduction phenomenon. There's millions there. The Nazism that theosophy influenced. What do we get? We get World War II and the Cold War. Absolutely turned the earth upside down, right? So what's that? That's 9 or 10 people having paranormal encounters, and the results of those encounters absolutely rule the earth.
Billions. Yeah.
Throw the earth. Manny, one of the earliest Gnostic sects was the Manichaeans. Gnosticism is alive and well. Go to the movies. You're looking at Gnosticism 9 out of 10 times. Started with Manny having a single paranormal encounter.
But how do you relate that to all of the mono or polytheistic faiths like Hinduism, Buddhism, and the such? You start going down this road where you have, I'm not educated in the Hindu faith, but I do know, and I have spoken to people, and they're like, we have thousands of gods. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, so you go from these monotheistic faiths to this pantheon of gods, even more rich than the Greek and Roman mythologies, which I have a passion for. I love those. But even then, that goes down even to a wider paranormal group of beings. And who's to say who's right?
I personally believe, how many people are on Earth? 6 billion? I believe,
9.
Is it 9?
Here, 9.
8 to 9.
Is it 9? 8 to 9 now?
8 to 9.
I certainly believe
I stopped
that.
adding people to the planet, just for the record.
I certainly believe that the for lack of a better term, the population of the spirit world is also billions. Why wouldn't it be? So
yeah, we're here tonight with Todd Rayburn. He is an author, researcher, musician. How the paranormal rules the world. Segueing over to kind of outside the world. When it comes to music, correct me if I'm wrong, Todd, but music is basically, at the end of it's math. You can translate it through math.
it is math.
Tiffany, you missed that class in school. What is, in these famous things that they've shot into space where they've added music to, what was the one thing?
Yes, the golden record that got,
Yeah, and it was
talk about that.
Johnny B. Is it Johnny B. Bad? So just
Johnny B. Good.
Rock and roll stuff.
Was it? I can't remember. I'll have to look it up.
But talk to me about that. How much music is it the true, no pun intended, universal language?
I would say that math is for sure.
Math, yeah.
And when you put melody to math, you have something special there. But, I think it is personally, I would consider math in the language family. It's language with numbers. Mm-hmm. But I think it's absolutely one of the most incredible things in the world that the universe can be described, the laws of physics with math,
right?
Or
with numbers, or formulas,
numbers,
yeah,
DNA, that kind of. Mm-hmm. So what it does for me is it causes me to. My pondering on it is, okay, take dark energy for instance. Dark energy is the most finely tuned phenomenon ever discovered. Okay. So in order for stars to form and planets to form, dark energy is set at a number that has 10 with like 90 zeros behind it. It's so precisely fine tuned that it's an unimaginable number. You can't wrap your mind around it. The fact that we could actually have that number or understand or discern that number and it be the key that unlocks our understanding of how the planets and stars formed is one of the most amazing things in the world to me.
Okay.
And so music reaches another level because music is that, but melody, with melody, you know.
You almost don't need a
So,
translation for a
yeah,
language for music either. You can enjoy music in any language,
Right.
anywhere around the earth,
so true.
and still appreciate it. Even get a feel from it, and get an understanding sometimes, even though you don't know the
Yeah,
language behind it.
yeah,
And it's a maybe that is the best way to
Mhm.
communicate with another
yeah.
intelligence.
Ginga says, right on,
There's
some babies will start to move to the rhythm of
Mine did.
music.
I put speakers on my belly while I was pregnant, and I played all different kinds of music, and my
Love it.
oldest daughter loved techno.
Oh,
uh,
okay.
Yeah, club house techno.
I mean,
our.
who doesn't shake their ass to a nice beat? That's all.
I'm telling you, it's one of the most spiritual things ever devised,
Right. I agree.
along with
That's why
language
they
and numbers. No,
and
yeah,
that's why they use it through rituals.
yeah,
They use it through every religion, whether
yeah,
it's a just even if it's the same tones and keys over and over again, it can
yeah,
put you into a state of what people could either
yeah,
call hypnosis or elevate their mind to
yeah,
opening to amazing possibilities.
yeah. You
I was
could,
watching, yeah, I was watching real quick, like
yeah,
a old episode of, I think it was Skinwalker Ranch, and they had like an Indian tribe come in and do their song, playing it, and I don't know what the hell they were saying, but I felt it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt it,
yeah,
and that's music to me. I love lyrics, I love the beat, but if I feel you, I
Mm-hmm.
feel it, then you got me.
yeah.
You got me. So,
It
So it's
seems to
built
be
into our
ordained.
DNA.
Yeah, it seems to be part of our creation.
mhm.
And, you know, we are confined to the material realm. And I believe that was on purpose. I believe God wants a human family. But because of that, we're hopeless to imagine, you know, what God is like, or even to describe God. But
Is
music seems to be like a transcendental connection, you know. And make no mistake, this is an argument for someday with atheism. Numbers are numbers and arithmetic, which is what music is, as you said. That's a transcendent reality. Numbers have an infinity. You can divide something forever and ever and ever. They are numbers, like you said, music is it's a transcendent reality. It You can make an argument for God with numbers. I'll put it that way.
I'm an atheist, Todd, and
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
great statement. Yes, I
yeah,
can't. It's hard to argue. Uh,
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
believe. I want to believe
yeah,
in. I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too cheeky here. I want to believe in the
yeah.
old man in the sky, caring for us, protecting us.
What about the
Not
woman
there.
in the sky?
It's no, pardon the gender, but yeah, it's or even better, even better.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but this is another way we're just talking out loud. How people that just are on different spectrums of things can
yeah,
find that common ground.
sure.
We might not spend time with each other Sunday mornings, but I'll go to a Todd Rayburn gig every
Yeah,
time, and that will be my sermon. That will be what
sure,
connects me to
sure.
something greater.
Yeah.
And it's
Was who was the atheist? Anthony Flew. You ever heard of him?
I have
Kevin
not.
Anthony Flew. Yeah,
Mhm.
Anthony Flew he changed from atheism to, I don't know what he believes, but he believes in the spirit world now of some sort.
Mhm.
But he could not reconcile that we can have thought
Mm.
and analyze a thought or analyze an idea from sensory experience. Like consciousness is completely not understood. Where it is, how it is, and that affected Anthony Flew and caused him to, I don't know what he did, seek for the spiritual world. I don't know. Maybe he became a Christian, but just like numbers, the fact that we can have a thought and analyze the thought it's another problematic issue. And I know, Sam Harris can argue that into the ground, but it is problematic that we have consciousness and thought. It's 2024. We have no idea what consciousness is. None. None whatsoever. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yuffie brings it again. Every conscious mind has the ability to perceive patterns, no matter the mode of sensory input. I can appreciate that for
Wow.
sure.
Yep.
So let's change it up a little bit. So have you ever had what you would consider to be an encounter with a ghost or a spirit or anything that you were not comfortably able to say was a human?
But you would be
No.
comfortable to say on the show.
Yeah.
What a great way to put it.
I have not had that type of experience. I have not. I'll tell you this. This is a little known story. A lot of people do not know this story. I bet you guys do, though. In 2 Samuel in the Old Testament, King Saul is in fear of the Philistinian army, and he's trying to hear from God about what to do about it, and he gets nothing. So remember, this is the Bible now. So he goes to Endor and finds a medium, and has the medium bring up the dead spirit of Samuel, the prophet Samuel. Bring him up from his grave. So Saul, not only does she succeed, but Saul recognizes Samuel. Somehow the ghost of Samuel is recognized by Saul in the passage there. So there in the Old Testament is an example of mediumship and the ghost of Samuel. Did you know that story?
It
Yeah.
sounds familiar, but it also reminds me of
Yeah.
Lazarus and
Yeah.
Jesus bringing a man back from the dead after 3 days of being deceased, and crying because this was his best friend and his family, and
Yeah.
this was not supposed to happen. And just by his divine will was able to bring this man back from the dead. Now, today, looking at it, we may be able to come up with plenty of reasons why he was not physically actually dead, and maybe just in a very weakened state. But the story is still there, and it's still very promoted within the religious community that this happened. So when it comes down to a lot of my problems and my questions with religious philosophy, it's always been a curiosity to me that they would have all of these supernatural stories, yet
Sure.
we're not allowed to believe in these entities that are not part of the specific line of the word. So that's always been a problem.
Not the big guy.
Right. It's been a problem. But, one of the things that we've talked about throughout our history, Kevin and I have discussed, is that we have a lack of terminology that is universal amongst people who want to talk about the paranormal.
Or they change
it.
Or they change it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what would you term those types of situations? Would you call those paranormal? Would you call those religious? Would you call those and what is there a negative connotation to those things? Why are those positive and others not so positive? If we did it today and communicated with the dead today, would that be considered a negative versus at the time with those specific people, that was a positive?
Yeah, I hate to wear this out. It comes down to your worldview again. If your worldview is that, Christ is Christ is Yahweh, and Yahweh is supreme, and Yahweh says, don't talk to these guys, that's justification for you if you hold that worldview, not to deal with these guys. So, it comes down to who's in charge. Now, I would say, let me show you, let me see if you can see this on the camera here. Can you guys see that? That's, yeah, this is going to be my next printed book.
Is that the telephone book?
Yeah, that's a.
I haven't seen one of those in forever.
Yeah, this is a work on how contact with spirits affected the world, like the rant I went on a while ago. But it's an exhaustive look at it, and what I see in there, what I saw in my investigation is that these forces, the spirit realm has opposing forces, and when you do a thorough investigation of how contact with these two spirit worlds has manifested itself today, you can see there's an agenda. There's a battle between the two. So, you got one guy over here. The Supreme says, basically, if you're on my side, here's how we're going through the deal, and if you're on their side, so be it. So, I hope that's not a disappointing answer, but there are clearly to me, there's a battle between two, and you just pick one.
Well, then, okay, this is going a little bit farther, and I know that you've probably done your research on sort of like world religions and things. So, bringing it back together, do you have a thought on why we have so many religious fights when we all sort of believe in a fairly similar supreme being? Why is it that we have these factions that want to wipe each other out when all we should be doing is focusing on spiritual growth, getting together, bringing humanity together as one race, one people, one faith? And this goes back to my favorite idea of the legacy of Babel. The change of all of the languages and the dispersing of people and the hatred amongst the factions. Where and why do you believe that that's happened?
Yeah, I think that goes back to what I was just saying. Just take, for instance, Islam. We're not here to knock Islam, but I believe that Islam is not just, a surface religion, but that its roots are connected to the spiritual world. We get, like we were saying a while ago, it started with a paranormal encounter. So as Islam has evolved, I said a minute ago, pick your side. Islam chose a side that just happens to oppose the Christianity side. And so, you know, I'm having trouble explaining, your question other
It's a tough
than,
question.
It's a
yeah,
a great question.
yeah, other than, everything is rooted in spiritual experience, and you pick a side and you follow that side. And unfortunately, the state of the world and where we are now, that pits you against the other side. It's the nature of reality. For instance, if you're a Christian, Christ is God. If you are Muslim, he's not. And in the Islamic world, their ideas evolve down, unfortunately, to Islam should, and not all. I know there's peaceful Muslims mostly, but
I'd like
the
to say that
Islam,
we're all peaceful to a degree.
yeah, the
And then
Islamic
there's
holy book,
extremists.
yeah, the Islamic holy book implies that those who follow Christ as God are to be terminated.
Well, you know
I'll put it
what?
that
We
way.
all went and
So,
Christianity wiped out a ton
yeah,
of people during the
sure,
Crusades.
sure,
And I always
yeah,
have to go back to
yeah,
even like the witch trials and witch hunts, and I mean people we maybe it
sure,
comes down to humans have a violent animalistic tendency.
yeah,
We have a nature that is
sure, territorial,
volatile.
yeah,
Volatile. I mean,
yeah,
I can be very volatile sometimes. When you come to
sure,
protecting some people, when it comes to me being a protective mother, I am a mama bear, and I will
yeah,
fight tooth and nail
sure,
to the end. And that's part of
yeah,
the protective nature
yeah,
of a woman. But
yeah,
the man is also a massive protector and a massive
yeah,
fighting force. So do you think that maybe it
yeah,
just has to do with us trying to fight for survival and
yeah.
doing it the best of our ability?
I do. And the other thing is, you know, perhaps, the way you see things is that only a peaceful existence is a just, existence. That might not be the case. You know, there is a time for war. There is a time to fight. So, a little tweak to your worldview. Uh, Sometimes war is necessary. Unfortunately.
It's always will be a profit.
Yeah.
Just being
Yeah.
a straight shooter. But
Yeah.
one thing, help me understand this one, Todd. And
All right.
and I say this, I'm on the other side of the fence when it comes to religion, that whole thing. I
Sure.
love talking about it, though. I love talking about it. I'm capable of having a conversation, and that's
Sure.
a good thing. Help me understand this, though. When it comes to Christianity, Islam, all the religion, why is it that if there's one God over us, why is it when you're born, depending on where you're born, that's the religion you go to? Why is it that not the end all be all,
Sure.
just puts that potion or spell, not spell. I mean, that sounds
Yeah.
disrespectful. But where I'm going is that why is it
Yeah.
so territorial?
Yeah. These are tough questions for sure.
I will ask them like once
Yeah.
every 4 shows.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough question, and I have on this book the subtitle, "The Legacy of Babel," and everybody's heard sort of the surface story of Babel, but
Mm-hmm.
how about a deeper look? there was a time, according to Judaism and the Old Testament, where God and humanity, and this is confirmed in archaeology. Humanity started in Mesopotamia. We know the Sumerians were the first civilization. We know civilization spread from there. So the Bible story is in alignment with that, and so the Bible story says, hey, God told humanity, I don't want you in this one spot. I want you to spread out. Mm-hmm. And the passage there, Bible passage, says they did not obey that. And they started their project, building their Babel city to, for lack of a better term, produce a globalist, unified humanity. So,
and it was working.
Yeah. So the Bible says that, and let me say why that is. Why that is because I'm going to answer your question with my worldview now. I can't help it, right?
You're good. You're good.
I believe that God has a certain amount of people that he wants in his human family, and we've not reached that yet. Mm. And certainly not at Babel. Things are just getting started there. So you have Yahweh, and you guys have seen that term, the sons of God. So these guys are sort of they're sort of Yahweh's Jedi council. They're not angels. They're above angels. They're his sidekicks, So the whole idea was that if humanity began to follow one of God's Jedi Knights, so to speak, and he's evil, then all of humanity is stuck under a single evil ruler. Mm. So this is a reactionary thing. So at Babel, the people were determined they were going to serve, who knows which one. Under Nimrod, right? You know the story. Mm-hmm. So basically, God came down and said, the story says that he literally came down and kicked everybody out of the area. And so the idea was that if there's the passage indicates, in fact, in the oldest copy of Deuteronomy ever found, that humanity had already started worshiping these lower guys, the Jedi Council of Yahweh. Okay. So this is a reaction to that. God says some of these dudes are good and benevolent, some of them are bad. I can't
some of them are rotten apples.
Right. So I can't have all of humanity under a rotten apple. Mm. So that's the idea. Spread them out. And now God honored free will of humanity in the story. They're free to worship a bad guy if they want. So the idea is that at least other sectors of humanity have a good guy, that they're subjecting themselves to. And this is confirmation, that there was a world of spiritual beings who were in authority. And so Yahweh is dealing with humanity and this group of beings, who are over humanity. So I don't even know why I started talking about that.
I don't know either, but I don't care, because honestly, to me, that makes the most sense. Why wouldn't?
Yeah.
Why, if there is life outside of this world?
Yeah. You guys were saying. You were talking about why the different sides, are at odds. In my opinion, those spiritual powers are still in place. And so the Bible tells us the current state. You remember Paul said, Paul mentions principalities and powers, right, that rule the air. You get the story of Daniel. Daniel's praying, and Gabriel or Michael, which one I don't remember, shows up to answer Daniel's prayer, and he says, I was resisted by the Prince of Persia. I don't know if you remember that story.
I don't
So
know
you
that one.
get confirmation throughout the scripture that those principalities and powers are set in place. And that was because humanity wanted that. So God honored their will, but because of the way he set it up, at least you get some good guys with the bad guys. And so our current state, Islam, Christianity, yada, 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 it reflects, still to this day, until God gets humanity, gets the number he wants in his human family, we're still under that paradigm to this day. Now, that's my thoughts on it.
Do you think we're being visited by angelic entities? Do you feel like that could be potentially what these
Yeah.
extraterrestrials may be?
Yeah, when you look at the UFO phenomenon, it may be, I know you agree with this, it's the most complicated freaking thing there's ever been. So, what contributes to it? Nazi technology, Der Glock, the bell, the Nazi flying wing, American black budget stuff, drones, the Blackbird, dirigibles, the black triangles. We have natural phenomena. We got a million things that have created the UFO phenomenon, but there is a small percentage of UFO sightings that are supernatural. So you get the report, that an airline pilot saw this thing moving 1,200 miles an hour and make a right angle turn. So there's this small part of the UFO phenomenon that behaves in a super physical, supernatural way. So to me, that little percentage is a phenomenon that is connected to the spiritual world.
Do you think by the race of all the governments in the world trying to reproduce and create their own flying spectacular devices, do you think that's us trying to outrun the space war and try to be more like the gods, more like
For sure.
these beings?
For sure.
Do you think we're going to do
Yeah.
it? Do you think that we've already done it?
Yeah. I can tell you this, the black budget stuff is 30 and 40 years ahead always of what you and I know to be, doable always. Yeah. But yeah, there's a percentage of the UFO phenomenon that is spiritual in nature. It's undeniable. And so what if you were, let's just say you were God's Jedi Knights and you're in opposition to him. Okay. God's job is to get humanity to a certain place, and you're one of the lower guys that's going to oppose that agenda. So you got all this stuff I talked about a while ago, Islam, Church of Latter-day Saints, Adam Blavatsky, blah, blah, blah. You've got this scattered, sort of spiritual paradigms all over the earth. What if you were those guys and you were opposing Yahweh? Wouldn't you want to sort of unify the message? I personally believe that all that stuff has culminated into the UFO phenomenon. I think, I've never said this before, this is going to be a first on your show. I think the UFO phenomenon is reverse channeling. Okay? Like,
Please explain.
Elaborate.
The opposing forces have finally said, okay, we've got 25 categories of spirituality or 1,000, or let's have one. And I think that the UFO phenomenon is evolving into the unified sort of religious idea for the planet. Now, with my worldview, I think that culminates in opposition to Yahweh, because I believe that at some point in history we're gonna see that pull the zipper down and see the spiritual world. And like if you have sort of beliefs in prophecy systems, and you're looking for a certain prophetic outcome in the future, I think if you don't include the UFO alien phenomenon in that, you're missing the boat. That it's the culmination of all this stuff and the precedent for the time when we see the spirit world, unveiled.
We've seen a lot of art from history showing potentially UFOs in the sky or beams coming down from the sky. Do you feel that it was always in the back of our head that there was a monitoring vehicle involved in the human process?
For sure, some form of that, yes. I mean, we sort of, or we tend to limit the imagination of the ancients, and they were actually, person for person, actually they're more brilliant than we are now. We're sort of dumbed down now. So
do you think that's by drug use?
Certainly in there. Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
all the pharmaceutical companies taking over the world.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking you were meaning like gummies and stuff. But
oh, no.
Yeah. So I would not discount. I mean, the ancients had a tremendously more a wider supernatural view than we have. I would not discount them connecting the their supernatural view to vehicles. Just look at like the Hindu mythology, the Sanskrit stuff, where you get the reptilian hybrids, the Nagas. Those passages, the Nagas, those passages in the Sanskrit, they're not being mythological. They're saying straight up, hey, these guys were flying around, in this craft. It's straight up told in the text. It's not symbolic.
It's also told in it's also told in parts of the Bible that was left out, like Ezekiel,
removed,
right? Or removed, yeah. So
Ezekiel's still in there. The Ezekiel,
okay.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Maybe,
maybe altered through different humans.
Let's bring up last week, Tiffany, we had Robert Clotworthy on, the voice of ancient aliens. Todd, I buy into the ancient astronaut theory that beings, there was something out there that was here and helped build all that stuff. I buy into that. If that's the case, then where does God fit into that? Angels, because these are the, if you buy into the ancient astronaut theory, those beings were considered gods.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to build on that. What you just said.
Bring it, brother.
If you go look at, just say, the Babylonian mythology, the Sumerian mythology, those are two of the very oldest. The gods that they conjured, when they depict them in statues or art or whatever, how did they depict them? Right. They had a reptilian appearance.
Exactly.
Fish-like appearance or reptilian appearance. And what did they do? They're credited with bringing knowledge to humanity.
Teaching, right?
Yeah, that's right. So teaching what? Everything.
Everything.
How to build, whatever.
At that point, it was anything was everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're getting back to the serpent in the Garden of Eden with the tree of knowledge, though. That's part of our mythology that was sort of universal. It's
Yeah.
just one little
And
story.
And leave
my
it to the
phone,
female to bite into the apple.
yeah,
Am I telling that story right? I'm joking.
yeah.
Hey,
My phone,
you know
it look,
what? I'll bite into any damn apple I want, and I
Kevin,
damn the consequences. Apparently,
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
my, it looks like my phone's getting low. Can you
Okay.
guys discuss and let me plug this thing in?
We can do whatever you want, brother. Plug it in.
All right,
plug your stuff in.
Plug
I'm
it
gonna
in.
unhinge and get this thing plugged in.
No
He's
problem.
in it to win it. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Tiffany, we are is a little more heavier on the religious side, which is fine.
I sort of had a feeling that it was going to be, and I like springing that shit on you, Kevin, because
no, it's a great conversation.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I don't fucking know.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I think.
I know what I've been told.
But right, exactly. And what's crazy is that I'm one to share this. I mean, a lot of this stuff that Todd is saying is just I'm hearing my father talk back in the day. And
tell me what you grew up. Your mom is Thai, right?
Thailand, yeah.
From Thailand. Okay, Thailand. So, what was her faith?
You know, that's a good question.
She didn't bring it with her. She just sort of acclimated to America, and
she had to because she was my parents married during the Vietnam War.
Okay.
And she was immediately disowned. I've never met that side of my family.
Well, that is very difficult for anybody to handle, because I know that your family is your life, and your children are your life. So losing that part of your history has got to be difficult. But it makes me wonder what she was raised with, because your exposure seems like it was limited.
She's got a couple of Buddhas in the house. Yeah. I grew up Southern Baptist, and religion.
That's the Hail Yes, right?
I mean, I was going to church 3 or 4 times a week, and I'll tell my dad has passed, but I tell my mom to this day that was because you wanted a babysitter. You just that was. And then I remember coming home. I was 12 years old, coming home from a Sunday church thing and getting in trouble with my father, who is just, oh my God, it was just brutal back in the day. We were talking about Noah's Ark, and I wasn't buying it as a 12-year-old. So I came home and would start questioning it. I got grounded for a week.
Yeah, well, that's part of that. The problem is having these conversations with adults when you're just sort of learning what faith is and where we come from is one of those big burning questions. If you're born into a faith, you're typically instructed what that is. You don't get to question the authority on that. You don't get to. My problem was going to all Catholic girls' schools. My questions were, where do we come from? What is beyond the veil? Why am I having these I'll say nighttime visitations where you can communicate with somebody outside of your normal waking reality and have these questions brought up constantly. So basically, you had it thrown down your throat, and that turned you in a direction because you didn't get your answers.
I didn't.
You weren't able to ask those without getting grounded.
I know.
So that explains a lot to me about you and your sort of skepticism. And I don't think skepticism is bad. I think a healthy dose of it is important, because otherwise, if we don't question our government, we don't question our our political leaders, our religious leaders, our instructors, then what? There's no growth.
Hmm. Well, I'll say it's not skepticism when it comes to religion. I'm just a science guy.
Mm-hmm.
Show me the facts.
It's difficult to do.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's no scientific proof that God exists. Correct? It's a yes or no question, Tiffany. There's no proof yet. I want it to be.
This is the problem. Because you know what? It's not slapped you in the face yet.
Yeah. And you know, at the end of the day, you can say, I've had people say this, well, if you don't believe in God, you're going to go to hell and all this. So, okay.
Okay. Well, what about people who were ignorant of faith altogether and religion altogether, who weren't introduced to any religion? Does that mean that they're all going to hell?
And correct me if, and help me out here, Tiffany. What has been, when it comes to deaths on this planet, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the name of religion is high on the list of people who died, who were killed, right?
I would say millions and millions of people were killed for not believing in the right religion.
Right. You're not on my side.
Yes. And that still happens today, unfortunately. So
I'm back. I'm
Todd,
sorry.
You're back. So you missed.
I didn't know that. I didn't.
That's all right. You missed a little bit of conversation about the fact that Kevin was raised Southern Baptist and he questioned his faith to his father and was grounded. So therefore, his answers never came.
A week. The Noah's Ark story on Sunday Bible school was just not connected with me. I questioned
it wasn't working for
about
you.
it,
Yeah.
and Dad was blasphemy.
Okay, so that's a great segue into what was Noah's Ark. And my feelings now is that maybe it was a DNA suppository or repository, not it could have been a suppository too, but a repository of.
Now I've got the visual. In
This is where IVF originated, people.
Yeah.
But that is something that I've always wondered. And when we talked to a few people from the Ancient Aliens show and all of these things that we're being involved with in the past 15 years, especially because of that is one of the questions that they bring up and discuss. What are your thoughts? Was Noah's Ark, was that really was it 2 by 2, all the animals of the earth, or was it something different?
For the record, this is how my vision, this is what I challenged my father. I asked my dad, I'm paraphrasing here. I'm like, Dad, help me understand. They're telling me a 900-year-old man and his kids, 900, maybe if that number's wrong, I apologize. So a 900-year-old man and his kids built a 100-foot wooden Titanic.
Yeah, I don't know the dimensions.
Got a hold of 2 of every animals on the planet, which some animals were not there in that territory.
I just wanted to see the unicorns. Did they have 2 unicorns? Yeah. Supposedly, there were 7 times in the Bible that unicorns were discussed. Where'd they go? Damn it!
Go ahead, Todd.
I will make the argument, and I've seen the solid arguments on this. If humanity was in Mesopotamia, what would be the purpose of flooding South America?
Oh,
I think that
you're talking about the flood all over the earth, all the myths, all the stories, the flood stories all over.
Right. I think the flood was a local event, just where humanity was, and that what they loaded on the ark were regional animals. Now, Ancient Second Temple Judaism, like Enoch, that type of literature like Enoch, credits the sons of God with the introduction. We were talking about knowledge a while ago. The introduction of bad knowledge and evil to humanity. And that includes the hybridization, the Nephilim, the human hybrid offspring. And so to the Second Temple Jewish person, the reason for the flood was to deal with the genetic pollution, introduced by the sons of God.
All us RH negative people.
Yeah, so the Nephilim problem.
You don't think that the potential, because I've heard this explained on like Ancient Aliens, some other shows.
Sure.
Potentially Noah's Ark was a DNA bank collecting. Now I can buy into that. That you have this vessel that's for life to continue down the road. You gotta have your players.
Well, it's a circular argument. I mean, a male and a female animal from that region or their DNA, it's, same thing, I think. But technically, it's a DNA depository. But I think the main problem was human DNA, So I think the genetic pollution problem was widespread, and it was a drastic action to sort of cleanse the earth of the sons of God, producing offspring with humanity.
It was a do-over, right?
It was a do-over.
Just hitting the button. What is that staple? What is that? Oh, yeah, whatever.
The purpose of it was to save humanity, not kill humanity. If the purpose of it was to destroy humanity, you wouldn't have put 8 people in there. So the idea
was the flood local, or was it what?
Exactly.
It was worldwide, right?
No.
There's flood myths in most civilizations, most cultures.
I don't know if I'm on the other side of the planet and all of a sudden water is everywhere. I would be like, WTF, what's going on here?
First of all, there were no humans over there. So what is the necessity in flooding South America? The flood was local, and there's evidence now of a local regional flood in the Mesopotamian basin. So anyway, it was to save humanity genetically. It was a DNA project. There's no question about it in my mind.
What was the? And I'm digressing here big time. Sodom and Gomorrah, that whole thing. I know there was a lot of debauchery and everything, but is that also God's way of punish or restarting? Because no offense,
I would say,
I think I might have had fun at that location.
Yeah, I would say for that area, yes. Expounding on the genetic issue, it's reasonable to assume that Sodom and Gomorrah was, because the story is quite fascinating, because in that story, Yahweh himself shows up at Adam's doorway with 2 of the Jedi Knights. Go look at the passage. It is the Lord. That's what it says. And 2 of his guys, his top Jedi Knights. So, and as the story goes, the inhabitants of the city, what did they want? They wanted to have sex with the 2 emissaries of Yahweh. What does that tell you?
They were interbreeding with the
That was
angels.
the norm. Exactly. That was the norm in Sodom and Gomorrah. So for me, Sodom and Gomorrah fits under the same category as the flood. It's a do-over. And you say, well, that's cruel. You're mean, God. I'm going to say it again. God has an intended outcome for humanity and an intended number. And it's very clear to me that God wants a human family, and he's going to have his way on that. And these opposing spiritual forces. Their job is to change humanity. God's job is to preserve it until he gets where he's going. Now, you guys have mentioned Eden a couple of times. You go read the story, and the Nakash, that's the serpent. He's a serpentine being like the Nagas or whatever. Eve's not even surprised to talk with him. What you have in Eden is an intersection of spiritual beings and human beings. I think it's clear in the story, and that gives you insight into the plan down the road, what God wants. He wants a human family and a spirit family interacting on the earth. That is I'll call it the Edenic vision. The vision of Eden is the human family and the spiritual family to administrate the creation together in co-op. So God's going to have his way. He's going to have his way. He's going to have that. And that's all there is to it. If you're going to participate in and unite with the opposing forces to that, unfortunately, you're standing in front of a dump truck.
Great.
Great way.
You're gonna get run over by that agenda. I'll put it that way. Call it what you like. God's gonna have his way, and the Eden idea is not a failure. He's going to have that. That's what we're gonna have. We're gonna have an earth that unites the spiritual and the human realm together.
I'm not sure if I have a problem with that. I think that actually sounds...
Sounds really cool.
I'm going to say that... Yeah. I'm going to say I like that idea. Yeah. I don't think I want to be here for the downfall and the chaos beforehand. But,
if we're going to go out, let's go out with a bang.
We'll go out with a bang. You get in places like the book of Revelation. I can't call the chapter off the top of my head, but in Revelation, John prophesies that some of those spiritual beings of the highest order are going to be released, and that's sort of I was talking about a scenario where we see the spiritual realm appear, where we actually can see it for the first time. John is prophesying in Revelation of a release of some of those guys that are kept, in the lower part of Sheol, Tartarus. Is that what it is? Is it Tartarus? Mm-hmm. And released. And when they're released, you have the opposing forces, going at it. And so you can't escape if you're going to do true Bible theology, and if you're going to be true to interpreting prophecy, you can't avoid the spiritual realm as being part of that scenario. And I said it a while ago, it's very evident that there are two groups warring against one another. It's just the way it is,
Well,
I wish it weren't.
This has been an amazing conversation with you tonight, and
heavy too. I love it.
Very heavy.
Yes.
A little bit out of Kevin's comfort zone, but it's one of those conversations that he and I are going to be chatting about for the next 7 years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But this is great conversation though. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just because I'm on the other side of the fence. I'm so open. At the end of the day, if Todd, Tiffany, anybody out there can convince me differently, my mind's open to it. I'm open for it. Here's real quick, Todd. I'm gonna bring up a quote from one of my favorites, Ricky Gervais. And he's an atheist, so bear with me.
Sure, I know Rick. Yeah, I know Ricky Gervais.
is it fair to say with your beliefs, Christianity, religious beliefs, there's one God? Fair? Yes or no? You?
There is a supreme God.
You're right. There's a supreme. So
Yeah, there's a supreme.
his quote is basically you deny one less God than I do. You don't believe in 2,999 gods, and I don't believe in just one more.
Right. Yeah. Well, as you heard over the last hour and a half, I fall right down the center.
I love it.
There is the supreme. There's the supreme. There's the guys. They're called the sons of God below him, and then there's the angelic realm. There's the human realm. Billions upon billions populating both sides, and clearly, to me, there's a war. In the upper echelon of the gods.
Are they Are they warring upon our souls?
I would say yes, but also that depending on which way you fall and who you follow, you don't even need that. You are already in a default position. If you follow Islam, you're in a default position of opposing Christianity. It's just the way it is, That's not a fluffy answer, but that's the reality. That's for you, Kevin. I appreciate a person who thinks things out over the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're given that opportunity.
At this point, your conclusion is, based on, what you thought is that you fall on the atheistic side. But I appreciate, that you're a thinker, and the world lacks a whole lot of thinking.
There's not too many things that I will let people change my mind and call it stubbornness, ego, whatever.
Yeah.
But religion is one. I will.
Yeah.
I believe and think the way I do.
Yeah.
But if I can change that belief, if someone could help me or something changes it, I'm open to it.
Well, you're interested in the UFO phenomenon for sure.
Absolutely.
Right? And there's a tiny percentage of UFO sightings that are super physical in nature. 1,200-mile right angle turn. They're not physical. And so for you as a thinker, perhaps the super physics in some UFO sightings is food for thought for you, that you're visibly seeing an eyewitness account of a spiritual event.
Yeah.
I struggle with just our DNA, who we are. I mean, when I think, okay, Kevin, you're an atheist, but everything about us, it just seems like there is a rhyme and reason for it. It is. That's a struggle for me to realize that every little moving part with our bodies, everything inside, how our eye, everything how we were created, someone had that.
There was an ultimate designer.
Exactly.
Sure.
Now
is it your worldview? Yeah. Your worldview is maybe perhaps the ancient aliens. I'll say this, I don't know if you guys keep up with DNA studies, and I know we're at the end of the show, but the building blocks of a cell, protein chains, amino acids, DNA, RNA, yada, yada, yada. What they've come to understand now, and this is problematic for sure for atheism, sorry to say, but every component of the building blocks of the cell have to have information first.
Mm-hmm.
So the information in the cell and in DNA and in every component has to be there first in order for the cell to be built and function. That's the most recent, stuff. Information has to be there first, and so there has to be an informer.
And we are
on
the
DNA.
same as every kind of particle and molecule filling the whole entire universe. We have that in our makeup. So
The whole universe is intelligible by mathematics.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
So good tonight. Yes.
It was so fabulous, and from the bottom of our hearts, thank you from
I had so much fun. So much fun.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So thank you, and for joining us on this cosmic journey through the veil of mysteries, and we bid you farewell, and hopefully next week, God willing, we have another captivating episode of Universal
God willing
for you.
I was an atheist, and you're pulling the God willing.
I am. So
we're God on this one. Find our way. We have a show next week. We do. Yes, we do. Darcy.
Yes.
I'll wait till that's going to be good. Tonight was good. Tonight was good. Heavy. My God. Oof. There are questions. We didn't show them all, but
there were a lot of really good ones in there.
And the chat was amazing as always.
Yes.
Tiffany, where are we at? 10 o'clock, 2-hour show. So let's wrap this up. These are one of the shows where I'm so okay just kind of sitting back and taking it all in. And could I have jumped in and spoke up more? Absolutely. But there's a flow, and our show is way more important than me. And tonight, again, I'm listening to Todd, and I swear I'm hearing him, and I'm having, in some weird way, and I'm trying to get emotional. I hear my father talking to me, and he's been gone since January 2022, and so it was good. But this is
messages get sent to you in different ways.
Yes, and that's I'm open. There's signs everywhere. Now, whether they're God sending me signs or ET or whatever what it is,
or fellow soul travelers.
Exactly. And tonight was great. It was a really good show. And I'm gonna give you a shout out. I gotta give you some love here. Your flowers. Receipts. You took we had to take a hiatus. Our last one of the last shows we did, was in November 2021, and you had to step away, and I'm as your friend, bestie. I'm supporting you, and I will, I got it. I didn't think we would do any more shows, and then when the time came that you were ready to, I mean, it was like I get to have Tiffany once a week. I get my buddy once a week. And, the journey that we now are envisioning with this show, guests, topics, I'm looking forward to it. And for the record, Tiffany, over your head looks like a sombrero.
I know. I saw that. I'm going to have to either
leave
become
it.
a Mexican.
I'm going to have to incorporate a soundbite.
I'm going to be cross-cultural.
La 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 bamba.
Where I need some castanets.
Or we go to Taco Tuesday with that look. Why
head
are we
out
not
to
doing
Gustavo's.
these on Tuesdays? Gustavo's. We need to hang out.
We'll do Gustavo's.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, my daughters were in archery on Tuesdays, so that was why we decided not to do it, so that my girls can learn how to kill, be deadly with projectiles.
All right. Audience chat killed it tonight with the questions, comments, and that's the other part of our show, Tiffany, is that it's like our visual, our talking show, and then there's the chat who
Yeah.
just kill it with their takes. But next week, Darcy Ware will be the guest. He's got he had a documentary come out in 2023. He's going to have one of the people in that documentary on the show with us too. So I'm looking forward to that.
Do we have an idea who the guest is yet
Not yet.
with him? Okay, so
No.
it's going to be a surprise.
It'll be a surprise for you. Well, I'll have that info by next week. But
Okay.
this is again, with secrets coming back on, part of our it's like the rock. We're like the Rolling Stones, where we retire and then we do another farewell tour and another farewell tour. And as we're doing this again, we're reconnecting with an audience because for 2+ years, we were kind of out of sight, out of mind. So now
It was better for me that way for a while.
Respect for you.
Yeah.
You needed that.
Yeah.
As we're starting the show again,
And I still don't know 100% if I'm ready. There's still going to be ups and downs, and we're going to work through it. But
and I will take care of you. That
yeah,
way.
I know.
But
And I appreciate that.
It's always fun to do this stuff. I mean, we reminisced about 2016 was when we connected.
Yeah.
On a whim, not a whim, but it was. I'll full disclosure. 2016. I'm, my fascination with the paranormal, and I see someone on Facebook who is local, who is so into the paranormal.
I got drug into it. It wasn't really intentional.
And I reached out to you, and we just connected right away, and we started doing shows, and it's just been, to me, magic ever since. We have a dynamic, and then you added the red lips, and that took us to a new level. And,
it's a matter of finding the right color every single time. Damn it.
It's good. All right, guys, we are. Let's wrap this up.
Do I keep the sombrero then?
You can for now. It has to be. Now you kind of gotta look. And so thank you for everyone in the chat for hanging with us. All the questions. Appreciate the support. Like this show on YouTube, Facebook, wherever, Twitter, which we're
share
streaming.
if you're so inclined.
Share, please. We are trying to bring secrets back to we had a nice run back in 2021 where the audience, everybody was connecting with us, and so we have to earn that back. And
yes, and if I block you, it's not intentional. It's because I don't know if you're a weirdo or not.
Yeah, she's dealt with a weirdo or 10.
I've got an issue, and if it's a familiar name, I might let it in. But right now, there's still a lot of people out here who probably think I'm just being bitchy, but I haven't. It's because there's so much going on. Don't feel offended. We're processing, and we'll get back into it. And if you need to reach out to Kevin, he's a little bit more open these days than my accounts. So
thank you so much for those in the audience who have followed us in the past and continue to follow us. We are noticing who you are, and we very much appreciate it. Universal Secrets, concluding on this Monday night. We will be back next Monday with another show. Tiffany, doing our thing, and it feels good to for us to reconnect and do this. So appreciate you.
Until next time, stay curious, stay open-minded, and keep seeking those universal secrets with us. We will be here next week. Peace out.
This has been Universal Secrets.